Morning guys, here in Tashkent. We've arrived at the bazaar area from a Yandex taxi from our hostel. Now we just have to find someone who will take us to the Tajik border, which might be easiest I think going. So I'm just going to have a little walk around. Yeah, wish me luck and hopefully we find someone. Alright, found a bus that's stopping in Uzbek, so I'll get on this one. Hopefully get off the right spot. Luckily I found it. Alright, let's get on and let's go. Got on the bus. A bit crowded, but let's do it. Just got off the bus and I think we're at the border here. I think this other lady is going to Tajikistan as well, so I'll just follow her. Меня зовут Оскар. Ага. Я из Австралии.
Австралия?
Да. Вам нужно помочь? Ага.
Ага. Туда горы идут.
Ага.
Пройдем.
Ага. Alright, we'll walk to the border together and see how we go.
Идем вон туда, на эту дорогу пройдем.
Ага.
Не голодный?
Может. Да.
Siz sначала доллар менять, qancha kurs?
Near the border, there was a man selling Tajikistani currency in exchange for dollars, and he was being very insistent.
Таджикские деньги тебе надо.
Да.
Сейчас до Худжанты тебе таджикские деньги надо. Таджикские деньги. Вот такие вот. Понял?
Понял.
Сейчас у тебя сколько долларов есть? Вообще-то тебе...
The old lady wanted me to hand over $100 to him, but there was no way I was doing that. I knew once I was in Khujand, the city on the other side, I could withdraw cash as needed from ATMs, so I just purchased a small amount of currency to pay for the taxi from the other side of the border.
So we're at the border and I got sort of ripped off a little bit by the dude. Yeah, we're at the little restaurant thing now. We've got food coming to us. I don't know, whatever this noodle dish is. Some dessert. I guess after lunch here, then we'll cross the border and hopefully get a taxi to the other side. From the other side. We'll wait for a jump. Alright, had lunch. I think we're going to cross the border. So I'll put the camera away and we'll see you on the other side.
We crossed the border, first by passing the Uzbekistani border controls, followed by a short shuttle ride on a buggy across no man's land, followed by the Tajikistani controls. I was exhausted after carrying both mine and the lady's bags from the final controls to the taxi stand, but grateful as she found a taxi for us to the city. The driver threw my bag on the roof and I got in the very back seat of a very cramped car.
Okay, we somehow made it into a car. My bag's on the roof. There's 8 people in this car.
Это таджикстанские границы.
So we made it through the borders. Pretty smooth, all things considering. But yeah, I hope this car takes me to where I want to go. Not entirely sure. So great. These are just right up against the city.
and hopefully they draw me close to the centre so I don't have to walk too far. Cheers. Alright, we're out here in the centre of Khujand, going to our hotel now. So yeah, we'll get there and put our bags away. Alright guys, we made it to our hostel room finally. It's been a very, very long day. Babushka wanted to introduce me to her grandson and stuff, and all I wanted to do was just get back here and have a rest. So finally glad to be back somewhere where I can rest. This is my hostel room. It's pretty fancy for a hostel. I think it's $25 a night, so USDs. So yeah, really good, really good. It's just been a long day. I'm a bit tired, so I think I'm just gonna go out and grab a bit of food and come back. Might see if I can get a SIM card tonight. I'm not sure. The Wi-Fi is not that good here. So, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for our first full day here in Khujand. So see you guys then. Peace. Good morning guys. It is our first full day here in Tajikistan, and today I'm going to get a SIM card here in Khujand. Just have a walk around, I guess. Wow. Walking around these market areas of Khujand, I really felt like I'd been transported back in time. Buy everything here. Clothes, socks, bread, shoes, bananas. Wow. Look at that. Here in the main square. Some sort of mosque, madrasas over there. Wow, the hills in the background. Isn't that crazy? I think that's the mosque, and there's some madrasas over there. But yeah, I think this is the main market square. Wow. It's pretty amazing. Alright guys, SIM card acquired. Now we're just walking up the main street here. It's quite nice here in Tajikistan, and see if we can find a big old Lenin. Sounds like a good plan for today. See what we can come up with. So join me on my adventure, day one here in Tajikistan. So here we have the main river through Khujand. It's the Sirdaya River. Over there you can see giant Tajik coat of arms and flagpole. Oh wow, you can see the mountains in the background. Here in northern Tajikistan, during the Soviet era, it was a big uranium mining area for the Soviet Union for many of their civilian and military nuclear purposes. So in the hills around Khujand here and to the north, there was many uranium mines. Many of them have just been left abandoned with just mounds of nuclear waste, like tailings of the mine, just being left near the edges of the town. So out in the suburbs of Khujand, you've got abandoned uranium mines. Wow, look at that old Soviet bus. Wow.
Casablanca. I love it. The air quality feels pretty bad here. Smell it in the air. Aha! I've seen him over there through the trees. I don't know if you can see that. Let's get a bit closer. Alright, we've arrived in the park. And here we have a Soviet War Memorial. By the year 1979 to 1989, that was the years of the war in Afghanistan, invasion and subsequent occupation of Afghanistan, which was primarily launched here from Tajikistan. Tajikistan, along with Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, are the three Soviet republics that border Afghanistan. The war in Afghanistan was extremely costly for the Soviet Union. Many soldiers died in the occupation and in the war. Still nowhere near as deadly as in Ukraine. You can see here on the bas-relief the Soviet soldier. Slava vojnu internacionalnostu, glory to the international war. Here we have what I assume to be Soviet war heroes from Tajikistan, who all fought in the Great War, the Great Patriotic War. Wow, that's a big Lenin and a big hammer and sickle. Wow. And Babushka's doing the garden maintenance. Здрасте. Не, пешком много. Wow. I think it's definitely the biggest Lenin that I've seen. Что вы думаете о Ленин? Что вы думаете о Ленин там?
Давным-давно герой народа был.
Ага.
Сейчас никто не сделает его сейчас.
Ага. Ну, удачи.
Вам тоже. Где в руках что? Это что в руках? Микрофон что ли?
Это фотоаппарат. Ага. These posters here for World War II heroes are commemorating those Tajik lives lost in the war. It's not the most recent war that Tajikistan has experienced. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s, Tajikistan had a very brutal civil war between the opposition and the government. The opposition was the United Tajik Opposition Front, several anti-communist, anti-establishment groups, several Islamic groups trying to overthrow the ex-communist government. The civil war lasted for 5 years with external support for the government from Russia and other countries. The government was based in Dushanbe and the opposition was based up here in Khoijand. It was a very brutal end to the Soviet Union for Tajikistan. Struggled to get on its feet, and it's one of the poorest, if not the poorest country in the former USSR. Tajikistan was then headed by President Rahmon, and he's been the president since 1994 or something like that. He's giving Lukashenko a run for his money. The interesting thing about the civil war was that it ended in a settlement. The opposition was granted 30% of seats within the new parliament in return for laying down their weapons and stopping the fighting. It's unusual for a civil war to end in a settlement like that. Usually civil wars are a fight to the finish because both sides have incentives to keep going, otherwise they will just be crushed by the opposition if they concede anything. A very unusual monument here. It's got a radiation symbol, gas mask with I guess an olive branch symbolizing peace. Let's see here. I think that's written in Tajik. I'm gonna have to do a translation. Alright, I've done my Google Translate. This is actually a memorial built in 2016 for the 30th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster in remembrance of the liquidators. So there you go. I did not expect that here in Tajikistan. As I mentioned earlier, Tajikistan was one of the primary areas of uranium mining in the former Soviet Union. Perhaps that has something to do with the memorial they have here. No doubt much of or some of the material in Chernobyl was mined here in Tajikistan. Alright, let's continue. But the people who live in the towns just north of Khujand here report higher rates of cancers, skin cancers, to the Tajik authorities. But the authorities can't really do much about it. The proper cleanup of the tailings, the uranium mines would require millions and millions of dollars that the Tajik government just doesn't have. Whether it's through corruption or not, I'm not sure, but Tajikistan nonetheless is one of the poorest, if not the poorest, ex-Soviet country. Alright, back through the streets of Khujand. You can see here over the river there's a cable car that runs along here, but typically it's not working. Here on these steps here, got some beautiful mosaics. It's obviously built since independence because we've got the Tajik flag here. Got some wheat, it looks like a dove, power line, probably a symbol of industrialization. Some flowers, got a dam here, hydroelectric dam. Many of Tajikistan's border disputes with Kyrgyzstan are related to water disputes. Actually, not far from here, only about 20 k's away is the border with Kyrgyzstan. But that border itself, if you have a look at Google Maps where I am, is not defined. Is yet to be demarcated properly. In the Soviet Union, many of the maps that were made were not accurate enough, or rather they were conflicting. And after independence, the states were left to themselves to sort out the border demarcations. In this otherwise arid area of the world, Central Asia, water disputes became quite a central tenet of border demarcations. Even just this year, there's been clashes between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. The name of the monument here, it's to the guy called Ismail Samoni, who was basically founding forefather of the modern Tajik nation. He was the emir of a predecessor state, 900 AD or something like that. Yeah, he's a bit of a revered figure here, and even the currency is named after him, the Samoni. So I've just Googled it, and all these mosaics depict different periods of Tajik history. As I suspected, they weren't Soviet era, but they're still very cool nonetheless. So we can see the scientific advancements of the Soviet Union, the space exploration. We've got the cosmonaut there. We've got some cotton here going in the foreground. Cotton is another important part of Central Asian industry and agriculture. Notoriously a very water-intensive activity. It exacerbates many of the water disputes in Central Asia due to the fact that cotton is central to so much of their industry. In Uzbekistan, I think something like 30% of their GDP is derived from cotton production. So not far from here, but in that direction, maybe about 100, 200 k's or so, is the notorious Fergana Valley, shared between Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. The Fergana Valley is one of the few fertile areas in this part of Central Asia, and has been home to the three ethnic groups for centuries. It is now a very hotly contested area in terms of border disputes due to the fact that the area around the slopes of the valley is very fertile and very valuable as a result. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the three ethnic groups were forced to establish and forge their own newfound independence. None of them had recent periods of historical independence, and so they had no established national identity to fall back on. They were all suddenly left to undertake their own process of state building. However, the ethnic mixture of the Fergana Valley and the social transnational social interdependence of these people contradicts the idea of state building. State building is essentially wall building, and that is why it's been such a difficult process. It's been a mix of land disputes and water disputes and ethnic disputes, which has led to a hotbed of conflict in the Fergana Valley. As I mentioned, even today between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, even this year, there's been deadly clashes, and the border is still shut between them. You cannot cross it, so I had to come via Uzbekistan to make my way into Tajikistan. And Kyrgyzstan has tried to make efforts to resolve these border issues through the use of Soviet maps, but unfortunately their thinking was that it was simply due to historical imprecision, and finding more accurate maps would resolve the problems, but really it's not going to solve the problems because of those water disputes, and water traverses boundaries, so it's a transnational issue and you can't solve it unilaterally. As such, it's sort of difficult to see the solution being resolved anytime soon. The dove piece, we have the victory symbol, SSSR Победа, front, to the front, for the front. The hammer and sickle behind it as well. Industrialization, we've got a tractor there on the farm. Here we've got Baikonur, we have a rocket, and of course the red flags up here. Wow, it's a beautiful mosaic. Wow. Alright, the previous one was obvious. The next ones I think are going to be more difficult. My knowledge of Tajik history is not very strong. Here we seem to have a variety of architectural buildings. Some of them are in Moscow. This one's in Moscow. I'm not sure what these buildings are. Some of them look more Central Asian than others. That's definitely St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow. Some Registan Madrasas. There is a sign, but I can't quite make it out. I think the sign was originally on something else. Na pamyat Viznak Druzhba. I think it's the friendship between, or the brotherly friendship between Russia and Tajikistan, 1888. So that might have been when the Russian Empire came to this part of Central Asia. I could be wrong on that. Wow, the quality of it looks really, really nice. Alright, we made our way to the next one. This one, again, it's going to have to be a bit of a puzzle to work these out. I think they're letters. I think that means it's related to the Persian influence here. Possibly. We've got some Persian architecture. Tajik is a Persian language, unlike all the other Central Asian languages in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. They're all Turkic languages related to Turkish. Azerbaijani is also another Turkic language. I think we're going in reverse order here. I think the designs are getting a little bit more primitive, so yeah, I think we're on the right track, that it goes back in time. There's the monument to Samoni. Just come back down from the top, and it looks like we have some sort of map here on this one. Dushanbe, that's the capital of Tajikistan. We have Khujand, that's where we are now. And also we have Bukhara. I can't remember the name of the rivers, but we've got the river that runs up through Khujand here, and we've also got, I think that might be the Amur River, possibly, running up through the Silk Road up to the Aral Sea. We have the Aral Sea just here. What was the Aral Sea? Caspian Sea as well. So we have Caspian Sea, Aral Sea, Bukhara, Samarkand and Bukhara, despite being in Uzbekistan, are actually Tajik-speaking cities. So how did they end up in Uzbekistan? Well, during the 1920s, there was a process called national territorial delimitation in the Soviet Union under the leadership of Joseph Stalin. It was a committee tasked with drawing up the borders of Central Asia. The committee had multiple competing objectives in their task. One was to create socially homogenous republics, like based on ethnicity. but another was also to create economically viable republics, each of which could have a certain role within the Soviet Union. Uzbekistan's role was cotton production. Tajikistan's eventually became mining, but also cotton production. It was not easy for these Soviet planners to do their job because many peoples here in Central Asia do not have the concept of a national identity. So many Tajik speakers identified themselves to the Soviet authorities when they came around doing their census as Uzbeks, because many people in the countryside were Uzbek, so they identified themselves for whatever reason as Uzbeks, and as a result were included in the Uzbek Soviet Republic. Even to this day there is confusion between identifying as Tajik and Uzbek. The Tajik speakers ethnically Tajik or linguistically Tajik. Are they Uzbek because they have Uzbek passports? We don't know. It's a very grey area. Some in Tajikistan are advocating for these cities to be included within Tajikistan, but I don't think that's going to be happening anytime. So it's things like this and history that has sort of condemned this region to instability. Who knows how it would have played out today if the borders of Central Asia had been drawn differently. Just on our way back into the centre of town, here we have the Sirdaya River. Across there we have a big Tajik coat of arms. I don't know if you can see that up there, and a big flagpole next to it. Wow. So Soleimani Rahman, the president, we're not even in the capital Dushanbe, but even Hujan, there's billboards of him everywhere. Different buildings and things. There he is up there. I don't know if you can see that. Bit of a cult figure. One that he's created for himself. On that building there you can see Rahman again. Same style of pose, photoshopped onto a different background. He's everywhere. Head back, put the feet up, get some food later, and then yeah, tomorrow we'll be on our way to Dushanbe, so stay tuned.